We begin here. But let me warn you, this won't be gentle. It's not comforting. It's not what you want to hear. It's what you've spent your whole life avoiding. Since childhood, you were trained to look outward, to find someone to blame, to name the pain, attach it to a face. And yes, that face is often your mother. But here's the truth no one wants to say out loud. It's not your mother that still holds you. It's what your mind did with her. This is not an attack, not a judgment. This is the part so few are willing to face. Your mother lives in your unconscious long after she leaves the room. You tried to move on. You tried to find peace, but there is no peace, while you're still trapped in a war you don't even recognize. And do you know what war that is? The war against an image, against a shadow, not flesh, not hair, but something older, deeper, invisible. An archetype. It settled inside you long before you could speak, and it didn't leave. Carl Jung called it the mother complex. And no, it's not just another label. It's an emotional prison made of invisible bars. It's the voice that judges you in silence, the hollow you can't fill. The need for approval you've carried since you were 5. And here's the part that cuts deepest. It isn't even yours. It's inherited, an echo, a mark on the skin of your soul. And now you ask, how do you heal something like that? Here's where the real work begins. Because as long as you keep seeing your mother as a powerful figure, either to idolize or to blame, you're not seeing her. You're seeing a myth, a projection, a distorted figure made of unmet needs, unspoken wounds, and quiet resentment. And the worst part? That myth still controls your life. Every decision chasing approval, every broken relationship built on the hope someone will save you, every time you can't hold your own boundaries. It all runs deeper than you think. It started in a look that wasn't there, in a hug that never came, in a word that was never spoken. And now you're an adult. But inside, you're still that child waiting for your mother to say it's going to be okay. But here's the most brutal truth. She won't. Not anymore. Because healing isn't about her changing. Healing is about you finally stopping the weight. And that is devastating. They told you forgiveness is the key. That understanding her will set you free. That you should walk in her shoes. And maybe, yes, that helps. But only after you do the one thing no one ever says. Look inside and admit the wound is no longer someone else's job. It's yours, only yours, and no one is coming to fix it for you. Now tell me something. How many times have you become her? How many times have you said or done what you swore you never would? There, that's the key. The mother complex isn't just emotional, it's behavioral. It inhabits you, it guides you. And if you don't make it conscious, it will turn your life into repetition. The same pattern again and again until someone finally breaks it. And breaking it hurts. Because it means killing a dream. The hope that one day, what never was, will be. That the past will be repaired. That somehow, magically, it will all make sense, but the truth is brutal. Childhood isn't coming back. The comfort you didn't get, you'll have to give it to yourself. Are you ready for that? Are you ready to stop waiting to be loved the way you need and start loving yourself the way you deserve? Because that is the door. There is no other. In Jung's language, the mother isn't just the woman who gave you life. She's an archetype, a symbol. She represents origin, safety, emotional nourishment. But she can also become suffocation, dependency, the fear of being fully yourself. And when this archetype is not integrated, it turns into a shadow, one you project on everyone around you. Your lovers, your bosses, your friends. You begin to look for someone to rescue you, to understand you without needing explanation, to take care of you unconditionally. But that's not love. That's loss. And loss can't be filled by another person, only by truth, by awareness, by courage. The first step? Stop idealizing her. She wasn't perfect. She wasn't a goddess, but she wasn't the demon your pain sometimes makes her out to be either. She was human. Broken, wounded, fighting her own ghosts. She did what she could with what she had. And sometimes, what she had was very little. That doesn't erase the damage, but it does explain it. And in that understanding, something softens, not forced forgiveness, but a kind of liberation, because idealization is just as toxic as resentment. Both keep you trapped. Both keep you away from reality. And the reality is this: you don't need a mother anymore. You need a stronger you, a more compassionate you, a more awake you. And that version of you doesn't appear on its own. You have to build it. Want to know how? Start observing your reactions. Every time you feel rejected, ask yourself, who am I really seeing? The person in front of me, or the wound I haven't healed? Every time you demand unconditional love, ask yourself, do I want love, or am I chasing repair? Every time you abandon yourself so someone else won't, ask, who abandoned me first? Healing is not linear. It's not beautiful. It's a descent into hell. A brutal conversation with your inner child. A slow, painful return to the memories you buried, not to erase them, but to finally feel them. And then you let her go. But yes, sometimes the child screams, and sometimes he doesn't scream. He sabotages, he hides, he shames you, because he's been waiting far too long to be heard. So listen to him. Don't silence him with cheap affirmations. Don't bury him under spiritual cliches. Give him space, ask him what he needs, and when he answers, give that to him. Not someday, not when you're ready, but now. Self-compassion. It's not weakness, it's medicine. It's the only balm that works when everything else breaks. And to practice it, you need real courage, because there's a part of you that learned to hate yourself, to blame yourself, to punish yourself in the exact same way you were punished. Break that cycle. Emotional re-education isn't reading quotes. It's learning to see yourself with different eyes. It's rewriting the response. It's stopping the hunt for mothers in all the wrong places. Because let me tell you something clearly. The world will not give you what you never received. It wasn't built for that. The world will demand from you, judge you, ignore you. And somewhere in that storm, you will have to build yourself. Emotional freedom begins when you stop repeating the cycle, when you make a new choice, when you realize you're not 5 anymore. You're not trapped in that house. You're not dependent on that hug. You don't need permission to exist. But there's a part of you that still believes you do, that still waits, still pleads, silently. That part is not your fault, but it is your responsibility. Heal it. Not tomorrow, not when it's convenient. Now, because if you wait to feel ready, you'll never begin. Healing doesn't come in silence. It comes in the middle of noise, of chaos, of fear. And when it arrives, it doesn't feel like relief. It feels like loss, like emptiness, like silence. Because healing also means saying goodbye. Goodbye to the victim role. Goodbye to waiting. Goodbye to the part of you that needed to be rescued. Does that hurt? Of course it does, but it hurts more to stay where you are. So look at yourself, but really look. Ask yourself, what part of my suffering still belongs to the internal figure I call Mother? And how much longer am I willing to let her control me? Make peace, not with her, with yourself. Because in the end, the most important mother isn't the one who raised you. It's the one you choose to become for yourself. And she is still waiting to be born. And now that you're here, now that you've dared to look at what others keep buried, let me take you even deeper. There's something we haven't touched yet. A darker layer? Deeper. Hidden, but incredibly powerful. The invisible loyalty. Yes, you heard that right. A loyalty you never chose, but that still pulls your strings like a thread stitched into your soul. It doesn't matter how much therapy you've done, how many books you've read, how far you think you've come. If you don't understand this, you will keep circling back to the same pain. Want to know what that hidden layer is? I'll tell you. Your unconscious believes that if you heal more than your mother, you're betraying her. That's how twisted this game is, and don't try to reason with it. This isn't logic, it's imprint, it's emotional DNA. You grew up learning that your identity was attached to hers, her wounds, her fears, her story. And without even knowing, you made a silent pact. A promise that whispered, I won't be happier than you, Mom. I won't be freer. I won't fully heal unless you do it first. Do you see the prison? And the most terrifying part is, it looks like love. This isn't about hate. It's not rage. It's about an unconscious fidelity pulling you back to her pain, her frustration, her limitations. That's why you repeat patterns you don't understand. That's why just when you're about to rise, you sabotage. Because something inside says, if I'm happy and she wasn't, I must be disloyal. But here's the brutal truth. Your pain doesn't honor her. Your stagnation doesn't save her. Your suffering doesn't heal what she couldn't face. So why are you still carrying what was never yours? This story plays out in millions of wounded souls. The child who refuses to fully live, just to not offend the sorrow of a mother who isn't even here. Or worse, one who was never really there at all. It's as if deep down, you're still trying to say, look, Mom, I suffer too, so you're not alone. And that's what's killing you. The real betrayal is not leaving her story behind. The real betrayal is repeating it. If you truly love her, if you truly want to honor her without becoming her shadow, then there's something you need to understand. To honor your mother is to surpass her. Not with ego, not with rejection, but with evolution. She gave you life. Now it's your turn to expand it, to multiply it, to transform what was passed down into something new, into awareness, into freedom, into a life that's truly yours. But to do that, you have to break the secret vow, the one you made before you even had words. The vow that said, I won't be more free than you. Break that promise, not in anger, in love. Say it in silence, even if she's no longer here, even if she could never hear it. Mom, thank you for what you gave me, but now I walk a different path. And that path is not a rejection, it's your liberation, and hers. Because as long as you live in hidden loyalty, everything becomes repetition. You will repeat her fears, her grief, her way of loving, her way of breaking. You will repeat her inability to say no, her shame, her hunger for approval, her quiet sacrifice, and you will do it without even knowing. Have you noticed how many decisions in your life were shaped by that shadow? Maybe that's why you can't tolerate rejection. Maybe that's why you feel guilty when things go well for you. Maybe that's why you choose partners who make you feel small. Not because you're weak, but because you're being loyal. But that loyalty comes at a brutal cost, your life. And if you dare to face that truth, to look it in the eyes without blinking, something opens. A strange silence appears, because for the first time, you're separating your identity from hers. For the first time, you're saying, I am not you, and you are not me. And that to the child you once were feels like betrayal, feels like abandonment. But to the adult you're becoming, it feels like birth. This is where it begins. And no, it's not about cutting her off. It's about redefining her inside you. Because whether your mother was loving, absent, cold, controlling, or overprotective, what matters now is not who she was. What matters is the role you gave her in your psyche. And that role, if left unexamined, becomes either a pedestal or a prison. You either idolize her or hide behind her. And both are distortions. Healing means dismantling the fantasy, and that fantasy wears many masks. The dead mother, the perfect mother, the sacrificed mother, the all-present, all-knowing, all-suffering mother. But none of those figures are real. They are stories. They are myths built in your mind to protect you from the one thing you were never ready to admit. She too was a daughter. She too wrestled with ghosts. She too was shaped by wounds she never got to heal. She too loved the only way she knew how, and she too failed. And you are not here to repeat her fate. You are here to turn her emotional inheritance into wisdom. You are here to make the unconscious conscious. To close a cycle that began long before you, so that if you ever have children, or even if you never do, they won't carry what you're carrying now. Because what gets passed on is not just blood. It's unprocessed pain, unspoken grief, the heavy silence of unresolved lives. That's the real inheritance. And here's what matters most. You can't change the past. But you can change how the past lives inside you. Do that. Not for her, for you. You don't have to separate from your mother. You have to separate from the distorted archetype you've built around her. You have to silence the voice that punishes you every time you shine. You have to question the guilt that grips you every time you choose yourself. And this liberation, it's not against her. It's for you. Because your origin is not your destiny. What defines you is what you do with it. So here's the last question. How much longer will you pay tribute to a pattern that doesn't serve you? How much longer will you carry a story that didn't even begin with you? The time has come to turn that wound into your engine, to stop surviving and start living. But for that, you'll need one thing: courage. Courage to stop being loyal. It takes courage to rebuild yourself without the figure who gave you everything or denied you everything. Courage to look in the mirror and say, now I'm the one who takes care of me. And when you do that, when you choose yourself, when you break free, then and only then have you truly honored your mother. Because the highest tribute you can offer the one who gave you life is to live. But just when you think it's over, just when you feel you've broken the internal loyalty, something else appears. Something quieter, trickier, more buried, emotional abandonment. And yes, it's still directly tied to that mother archetype living in your reflection. Because what does a child do when they don't receive the emotional care they need? They adapt. They shut down. They learn to ignore themselves, to suppress, to pretend it didn't hurt. And that survival strategy, it becomes, years later, your personality, your way of living. Have you noticed how you treat yourself, how you talk to yourself, how you demand from yourself things you would never ask of someone you love? That's not a coincidence. It's the continuation of the same pattern. It's how that poorly integrated archetype expresses itself from inside. You replay the abandonment you once experienced, but now you do it to yourself. And here comes the harshest part. No one is hurting you. You are the one continuing to hurt yourself in the name of an old script. Every time you deny yourself rest, every time you downplay your pain, every time you betray yourself to keep others comfortable, every time you accept the unacceptable because you fear not being loved, you're repeating the same story. If I ignore myself, maybe they'll love me. You know what that really means. It means you learned to survive by shutting down emotionally. And that is a slow massacre. An invisible one, a silent one. You've become your own authority figure, the one who doesn't let you cry, the one who demands strength, the one who pushes you to perform, to give, to hold everyone except yourself. And here's the most twisted part. The more you abandon yourself, the more you crave someone to save you. But no one's coming, because no one can give you what you're not giving to yourself. So here's the real revolution. Start taking care of yourself in ways no one ever did. Be your own inner mother. Re-educate yourself from scratch. Learn to give yourself the affection you were denied. To give yourself permission to feel without shame. To speak to yourself with kindness when you fall. To stop demanding perfection when what you really need is rest. And yes, at first it feels strange. Because for years you've been trained for the whip, the criticism, the emotional coldness. But none of that is yours. It's faulty software. A system you inherited. Not because it worked, but because it was all you knew. You want that cycle to end. Then ask yourself this: how would I treat a child who had lived what I've lived? What would I say if I saw them tired, overworked, slowly fading? Would I push them harder, call them weak? Or would I just hold them without asking for anything in return? And now realize something. That child is you. Still, even if you're 30, 40, 50, that child has always been waiting, not to be saved, but to be seen. Even if you've walked away, even if you seem like you've got it all under control, that inner child is still there, and he's still waiting. But no one is coming, at least not in the way you imagined, because this isn't about finding the perfect savior. It's about becoming the figure you always needed. And no, this isn't cheap mysticism. It's deep psychology. Jung said it clearly: what is not made conscious will manifest in your life as fate. And here, that truth hits hard. If you don't bring your abandonment into awareness, you will keep reenacting it. In every relationship, every job, every decision. You will live from emotional hunger, from the scarcity of never having been truly seen, from the silent addiction to being rescued. And the paradox is this: you stop needing to be saved the moment you become your own refuge. Is that difficult? Of course it is. No one taught you how. They taught you how to perform, to prove, to achieve. But no one showed you how to hold your inner world, let alone how to embrace your own shadows. And now, we come to one of the most forgotten pieces, the internalized negative mother. That voice you carry inside, the one that isn't really yours, the one that says you're not enough, that you're behind, that you don't deserve this, that you need to do more, that you shouldn't feel what you feel. That voice is not you, but you adopted it like it was your conscience. And it's not. It's a figure, a distorted archetypal imprint that has hijacked your self-trust. And until you dismantle it, you'll believe your worst enemy is yourself. And you're not. You're just reenacting what you absorbed. So how do you dismantle it? You listen, yes, but you listen to it. Because what you resist persists. But what you observe transforms. The next time that voice rises, don't run, don't silence it, don't smother it with hollow affirmations. Look at it, ask it, where do you come from? Whose voice are you echoing? What are you repeating that isn't even mine? And you'll start to see. You'll trace the wires. You'll recognize the origin. And in that moment, something inside you will awaken. Not in some mystical glow, but with brutal clarity. You'll realize you've lived trapped in a story you never questioned. And once you ask the question, you take your power back. That's the real psychological awakening, not mantras, not gurus, just that single moment where you stop being the echo of your childhood and start becoming the author of your adult life. But be careful. Don't mistake this for fake positivity. This isn't about denying your pain. It's about owning it. It's about seeing yourself with no filters. It's about stopping the desperate search for someone to reflect your emptiness. And instead, choosing to reflect yourself through small, conscious actions. You want a guide? Here it is. Start by not abandoning yourself when you need yourself the most. When you're tired, don't push. Breathe. When you're sad, don't judge. Stay. Stay with yourself. Even when no one else does. When you feel fear, don't be ashamed. Listen. That's the new language, the new inner mother, the emotional structure that breaks centuries of inherited patterns. And I know it all feels overwhelming, impossible. But remember this, you don't have to do it perfectly. You just have to do it differently. Because if you don't break the cycle, no one will break it for you. The change you're craving isn't out there. It's in every small gesture, every time you choose to care for yourself, even when you don't feel like it. Every boundary you set, even when your voice shakes. Every no you speak, so you can finally say yes to yourself. That is the real act of love. And whether you believe it or not, it is an act of revolution. In a world that trains you to perform, to punish, to compare, choosing tenderness is subversion. It's looking your family history in the eye and saying, with me, it ends. Not because you're better, not because you're stronger, but because you finally chose to wake up. And when you wake up, nothing can put you back to sleep. Not judgment, not guilt, not that voice that once paralyzed you, because you no longer walk in search of approval. You walk from within, a new path, built on awareness, boundaries, and true love. Not love that demands, not love that sacrifices, but love that sustains, respects, and protects. The kind of love you always deserved, and now, finally, can give to yourself. And that, even if it doesn't look like it, is the only inheritance worth leaving behind. Because when you arrive here, something inside you has already changed. You don't need anyone to confirm it. You feel it. It's that subtle vibration that rises when you finally look at what you've spent your whole life avoiding. That strange place between emptiness and power, between grief and rebirth. Because the end of this journey is not applause, it's not magic, it's silence. A new kind of silence, a clean one. Because at last, you've silenced everything that was never really yours. Now you understand why you never knew who you truly were. Why it was so hard to be at peace with yourself. You were inhabited by voices that weren't yours, haunted by needs that didn't begin with you, reacting to wounds passed down through generations, but not anymore. What's left now is yours, your space, your identity, your voice. And here's the most important part. It's not that you'll live without wounds. It's that for the first time, you'll live with them consciously. And that changes everything. Because wounds aren't the problem. The problem is running from them, pretending they don't exist, hoping that if you don't name them, they'll disappear. But they don't. They only transform when you face them, when you speak of them, when you move through them. And in that final crossing, right there, something is born. Your real maturity, not the kind built on control, not the kind that fakes indifference, but the kind that accepts that inside you live broken parts and wise parts. Parts that still cry, and parts that know how to carry. And that means only one thing. You crossed the threshold, the point of no return, where you stop being the symbolic child of the past and become the symbolic parent of your present. You no longer live from what you lacked. You live from what you choose to create. If something inside you moved during this video, write this below. With me, it ends. Like the video, send it to someone still trapped in someone else's story and hit the bell. Next video goes even deeper. You'll need silence and courage.